Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act protects one of our most vulnerable populations, innocent children. I am proud that at the beginning of the 119th Congress, we are taking this step toward protecting life and the fundamental rights of our most vulnerable American citizens. We are all too familiar with the horrors of abortion and the unchecked power of the abortion industry. We know it is simply common sense to provide life-saving care to those babies who survive an abortion. In 2013, Jill Stanek testified before the House Judiciary Committee, seeing the horrific realities of being a nurse and seeing children being aborted, alive, and left to die alone in a dirty utility closet. I can hardly believe that those words are coming out of my mouth sitting here on the floor of the House of Representatives in this, the beacon of hope for people around the world. She said, "I was traumatized and changed forever by my experience of holding a little abortion survivor for 45 minutes until he died. A 21 or 22-week-old baby who had been aborted because he had Down syndrome." Hard to believe. One of my guests for the inauguration, one of my dear friends in Austin, Texas, a somewhat well-renowned musician and songwriter, brought his son who has Down syndrome and is such a blessing to this world. That child, as well as this child that was left to die alone in a dirty utility closet, was and is a fellow human being, a fellow American, whose right to life should have been protected by the law. Congress cannot stand by and allow this type of suffering. We have both a moral and a constitutional duty here. This legislation is simple. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act requires that infants born alive under an attempted abortion receive the same protection under the law and degree of care of any newborn, combined with, by the way, the penalties associated with those who would ignore their duty under the law. Mr. Speaker, it's a common sense measure. Unfortunately, as evidenced by comments from many of my Democrat colleagues, not everyone believes that a child born alive should be protected. In 2019, then Virginia Governor Northam stated, and I quote, "The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother." The Democrat governor of Virginia. This blatant disregard for human life has no place in the medical profession in our country. Last Congress, unfortunately, only one Democrat voted in favor of the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, and another voted present. My Democrat colleagues sent a clear message to the American people that these innocent lives are not worthy of protection, and those who intentionally let infants die after birth should not be held accountable. If a baby American, a fellow American, is lying on a table, dying, and we cannot, as Congress, as the leaders of this country, the leaders of the free world, cannot say that under the language of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, under the language of the Declaration of Independence that animates our Constitution, under the privileges and immunities, the roots of which are found in English common law, that create the bedrock of our entire justice system, then we need to make sure that that child is protected, even and especially because of its defenseless nature. That is our duty. That is why I rise in support of this legislation. That is why I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.